The fans were ready to buy, the demand was overwhelming, but when ticket sales started stalling, the WTA was reportedly forced into a remarkable move, moving Alex Eala to a bigger court simply to keep up with the incredible Eala effect. It was the same phenomenon that had already played out in Toronto, where sold-out crowds left organizers scrambling to handle the demand. Now Cincinnati was facing the same challenge. When Alex Eala plays, the rules seem to change. The Lindner Family Tennis Center had just completed a stunning $260 million transformation, expanding the facility to 40 acres and adding a new 2,300-seat sunken stadium along with a state-of-the-art player clubhouse. But even with all that additional capacity, tournament organizers were facing the same question that had overwhelmed Toronto. How do you accommodate the massive wave of Filipino fans? And the demand started before Alex had even stepped onto the court. The 21-year-old Filipina, seeded number 17 at the WTA 1000 event after receiving a first-round bye, was making her Cincinnati Open debut. Her opening match against Elena Gabriela Ruse was originally scheduled for an outer court with a capacity of around 4,000 spectators, a venue organizers presumably believed would be more than enough. They were wrong. As ticket demand exploded, Filipino fans from across the country began flooding the ticket office, with some reportedly traveling for hours and others organizing group trips and reunions just to watch Eala play. Resale prices reportedly climbed dramatically, with some spectators paying around $1,000 for tickets, while a huge percentage of ticket inquiries were focused specifically on Alex Eala's match schedule. And that was the stunning part. This was a tournament featuring Grand Slam champions and some of the biggest names in women's tennis, including Aryna Sabalenka, Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, and Iga Swiatek, yet it was the 21-year-old from Quezon City who was generating extraordinary ticket demand. The scenes unfolding in Cincinnati were beginning to mirror what had happened in Toronto only weeks earlier, proving that the Alex Eala effect was becoming impossible for tournament organizers to ignore. In Toronto, Alex Eala's matches had reportedly sold out within just 30 minutes, forcing organizers to move her onto center court. The National Bank Open went on to shatter attendance records, with more than 215,000 fans filling Sobeys Stadium, and the incredible Filipino support turning the Canadian tournament into what felt like a homecoming. Tournament director Carl Hale described the response as unprecedented, and now Cincinnati was witnessing the same phenomenon. When Eala stepped onto the court for her opening match, the stadium was filled with Philippine flags, while chants of "Go Alex" echoed throughout the stands with the same incredible intensity that had become the trademark of Eala mania. Before she had even played a single point, the 21-year-old Filipina had transformed an Ohio tennis tournament into another Filipino celebration. And that raised a remarkable question. What happens when a player ranked outside the world's top 5 can generate more demand than some of the biggest stars in the sport? For Cincinnati organizers, the answer was becoming increasingly obvious. They had to embrace the Filipino wave. Moving Alex Eala to a larger court was no longer just a scheduling decision. It was becoming a necessity. The original 4,000-seat court had been expected to handle a standard second-round match, but once ticket demand surged, the system reportedly struggled, resale prices climbed toward $1,000, and organizers realized they had a serious problem, and that problem had a name: Alex Eala. Her second-round match against Elena Gabriela Ruse had initially been scheduled on an outer court, a venue that seemed perfectly reasonable for a player still outside the world's top 5. But the demand told an entirely different story. According to tournament sources, the response was so overwhelming that officials quickly decided to shift Eala's match to a larger venue. One tournament insider claimed that around 80% of ticket inquiries were specifically about Eala's match schedule. In Cincinnati, just as in Toronto, the message was becoming impossible to ignore. Alex Eala wasn't simply bringing Filipino fans to the tournament. She was changing the way organizers had to plan around her matches. Spectators were reportedly paying upwards of $1,000 on the resale market just to secure a seat, as the Filipino community that had transformed Toronto's Sobeys Stadium into a sea of Filipino pride followed Alex Eala all the way to Ohio. More than 215,000 fans had packed the Toronto tournament, and the scenes in Cincinnati were beginning to look remarkably similar. In Toronto, Eala's matches had reportedly sold out within just 30 minutes, forcing organizers to move her onto center court, with tournament director Carl Hale describing the response as unprecedented. Now Cincinnati was learning the same lesson. When Alex Eala plays, the rules change. But the court change was only the beginning. The growing Filipino tennis audience and the extraordinary demand surrounding Eala were forcing tournament organizers to rethink how they handled her matches. The Filipino wave had become one of the defining stories of the 2026 WTA season, and it was becoming impossible to ignore. Even Eala's opponents were beginning to anticipate the atmosphere. World number 10 Amanda Anisimova, who faced Eala in the third round, openly acknowledged what was coming before stepping onto the court. "I know that it's probably going to be a very packed stadium," Anisimova said, adding that she loves a packed stadium and a great atmosphere, even if the crowd would likely be supporting Eala. Rather than seeing the partisan crowd as a problem, Anisimova said she would try to thrive off the energy. That reaction showed just how undeniable the Alex Eala effect had become. This was no longer about one match or one tournament. From Washington to Toronto and now Cincinnati, the Filipino flags, chants, and passionate supporters had followed the 21-year-old from Quezon City, forcing tournaments across the North American swing to adapt to her growing popularity. What do you do when a player outside the world's top 5 becomes one of the biggest draws at your tournament? For Cincinnati organizers, the answer was becoming simple: move Alex Eala to a bigger court and hope the rest of the tournament could keep up. Because when Alex Eala plays, even Cincinnati can feel like Manila. The Lindner Family Tennis Center had been transformed by the atmosphere, and the crowd that Eala herself described as incredible made the Ohio venue feel like a Filipino homecoming. The players could feel the energy too. Amanda Anisimova summed it up perfectly before their meeting, praising Eala's incredible season, calling her a very good player with a huge fan base. Her words captured the reality that every opponent now has to face. When Alex Eala walks onto the court, she doesn't just bring her tennis, she brings an entire nation with her. The 21-year-old Filipina had transformed tennis tournaments into cultural events, and world number 10 Amanda Anisimova knew exactly what she was walking into. "I love a packed stadium, and I love a good atmosphere," Anisimova said, acknowledging that the crowd would probably be supporting Eala, but adding that she didn't mind and would try to thrive off the energy. The scenes in Cincinnati mirrored what had happened in Toronto just weeks earlier. Filipino fans had followed Alex Eala from Washington to Toronto and now to Ohio, filling the stands, waving Philippine flags, and erupting after every Eala winner. The support had become so distinctive that one observer captured the phenomenon perfectly. "You may be playing Alex Eala in America, but once the Filipino fans arrive, it can suddenly feel like you're playing her in the Philippines." And the lengths supporters were willing to go were extraordinary. One group of friends had even planned a college reunion around a trip to Cincinnati specifically to watch Eala play. They were based in different parts of the United States, yet instead of reuniting for a wedding or holiday, they chose to reconnect around a tennis match featuring a player who had become a genuine cultural phenomenon. Another supporter had watched Eala at the National Bank Open in Toronto before making an 8-hour drive to Cincinnati for another opportunity to see the Filipina star in action. The ticket market reflected just how intense the demand had become, with one tournament director claiming spectators were paying around $1,000 on the resale market simply to secure a seat. Even more striking, around 80% of ticket inquiries were reportedly focused on Eala's match schedule. In a tournament featuring Grand Slam champions and many of the world's biggest stars, it was the 21-year-old from Quezon City who was driving the market. For Eala herself, the support was overwhelming. After her Toronto run, she shared a heartfelt message on social media, describing the atmosphere as Barangay Toronto, borrowing the nickname from the passionate, community-driven spirit associated with Philippine basketball. The name perfectly captured what that week had meant to her. She admitted that the experience was difficult to put into words but incredibly easy to be grateful for, saying she was feeling the love in ways she would probably only fully appreciate later. And the tournament director had witnessed the phenomenon firsthand. Carl Hale, director of the Canadian Open, described the response to Eala as simply unprecedented, saying they had never experienced anything like it in Toronto before. Now, that same wave of Filipino passion had arrived in Cincinnati, and the tennis world was beginning to realize that the Alex Eala effect was much bigger than a single tournament. It was completely unexpected. According to tournament director Carl Hale, organizers had watched the momentum around Alex Eala build since February in Doha and throughout the year, but everything culminated in Toronto, where every match she played reportedly sold out. And the impact went far beyond ticket sales. Hale explained that in previous years, they would see dozens of flags from different countries around the venue, but this time they were seeing hundreds and even thousands of Philippine flags throughout the tournament. He also pointed to the incredible engagement between fans and the fact that supporters were staying until the very end of sessions throughout the event. That was the real Alex Eala effect. What would you do if thousands of people showed up simply because they wanted to watch you play? For Alex, the answer was simple: give them everything she had. Fight for every point. And remind them that their support was one of the reasons she kept pushing forward. Because the Filipino wave wasn't simply about filling seats, it was about an entire community finding its voice on some of the biggest stages in tennis. And that voice was getting louder with every tournament. The moment Alex Eala stepped onto the court at the Lindner Family Tennis Center, that transformation was visible once again. Philippine flags filled the sections, chants of "Go Alex" echoed around the stadium, and the energy made an Ohio tennis venue feel more like Manila. For Amanda Anisimova, the world number 10 American playing on home soil, the reality was obvious. She was about to face a crowd that would overwhelmingly support her opponent. "I haven't played her before. She's been having such an incredible season, incredible year. Very great player with a lot of fans," Anisimova said ahead of their third-round clash. She knew the stadium was likely to be packed and expected the atmosphere to be intense. But instead of complaining about the partisan crowd, the American embraced it. "I love a packed stadium and I love a good atmosphere," Anisimova said. She acknowledged that the fans would probably be rooting more for Eala, but added that she didn't mind and would try to thrive off the energy. And the phenomenon Anisimova was preparing for had already become one of the defining stories of the North American swing. Former ATP star Sam Querrey, who reached a career-high ranking of number 11, put it bluntly during the Tennis Channel broadcast of Eala's match against Ruse, "She is such a superstar." And that statement captured exactly what was happening. Alex Eala was no longer simply a rising tennis player. She was becoming a genuine attraction, capable of turning an ordinary match into a major event simply by walking onto the court. Is she the biggest star in tennis right now? I kind of think maybe she is. She's playing like it right now. Sam Querrey's assessment was bold, but the numbers behind Alex Eala's rise were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Querrey pointed to the consistency behind Eala's results and the way she had maintained her level across tournament after tournament. This was no longer just hype. She was backing it up with results week after week. As Querrey explained, after Eala's breakthrough run in Miami, some people may have expected her ranking and momentum to eventually slow down, but instead, both continued moving in one direction. She followed that breakthrough with a massive title run in Washington, played strongly in Canada the following week, and then arrived in Cincinnati with another impressive start. She wasn't disappearing after one big result. She was becoming a permanent presence at the top of the conversation. The numbers were staggering. Since her historic Washington title run, where she defeated the tournament's top 3 seeds and collected 7 top 10 victories in a single tournament, Eala had continued to dominate the North American swing. She entered Cincinnati with an 8-1 record in North American events for the season, while her record against top 10 opponents stood at 10-4, putting her among some remarkable names in tennis history. But Querrey also highlighted another challenge that came with Eala's rapidly growing popularity: the pressure. "She's got extra pressure on her every tournament," he explained, pointing out that her courts were now packed not only with Filipino supporters but with tennis fans from around the world. For many players, that kind of attention can become difficult to handle. When a crowd constantly cheers for you, it can create a feeling that you owe them a victory, that you have to perform for them. But according to Querrey, Eala seemed to be handling that pressure differently. Instead of allowing the expectations to overwhelm her, she appeared to be feeding off the energy and turning the support into another source of motivation. And that may be one of the most impressive parts of Alex Eala's rise. The bigger the crowds become, the greater the expectations get, yet she continues to deliver on the court. For Alex Eala, however, the pressure seemed to be creating the opposite effect. She was playing well, she was doing it in front of thousands of passionate supporters, and most importantly, she appeared to be embracing the superstar status that was growing around her. Perhaps the most telling part of Sam Querrey's assessment was what Eala's rise could mean for the rest of the WTA Tour. She's still young. She's going to continue to get better. That's a problem for the rest of the field, right? And you love to see that, Querrey explained. He wasn't talking only about Eala's results. He pointed to the work that happens away from the spotlight, the training, the practice sessions, and the gradual improvements she was making to different parts of her game. That, according to Querrey, was perhaps the most frightening sign for her future opponents. Eala wasn't simply winning matches. She was continuing to develop while already competing at an elite level. For Amanda Anisimova, the message was becoming crystal clear. The player she was preparing to face wasn't merely a promising young star anymore. She was already becoming one of the biggest attractions in women's tennis. Anisimova had said she planned to embrace the atmosphere and thrive off the energy, but stepping onto a packed court in Cincinnati would show her exactly what the Alex Eala effect had become. Tickets were selling at extraordinary prices, her match had been moved to a larger court, and the resale market had reportedly climbed as high as $1,000. The WTA was beginning to understand that Alex Eala wasn't simply generating attention, she was creating a movement. And Sam Querrey's words summed it up perfectly.